Not very good information. More Welsh, I think. Yeah. Everyone else in my family that doesn't say that. So. Irish and Scottish. Okay. I think we're ready to get going. We have Director Clark from HR. And we're going to start with the 2027 budget. Good morning.
Yes, I get the pleasure of being first on the budget
Look at
agenda
that.
today.
So let's, before we start, let's just talk about how we usually go through this, if there are new positions or whatever. We could start with that, but generally, if there's no big changes to that first part of that,
Right, and there are not.
okay, and then that's, well.
It just includes the normal step increases or COLA,
Right.
that we added in actually this time.
Right.
Now.
That was my question, you added the COLA.
The COLA
in. Yeah,
is
okay.
added in, yes,
And
correct.
maybe you're the best person to just step into the health insurance for a minute and just let us know if there's any updates on that, because it'll go through everyone's.
So we have another meeting tomorrow. I think we have some options to look at for sure. I think we only had one company that actually did quote us, but it is a competitive quote. Obviously, we have to weigh several factors to determine if it's a viable solution. So that could come down. Like I said, we have another meeting tomorrow. We're kind of at the surface level right now, but we did get one competitive quote. Everybody else declined to quote us.
And so our current health insurance, the increase is
26%.
26%.
Yes.
That's a good year.
And it depends. So that's kind of, so we offer two plans.
Yeah,
The higher cost plan had a 16% increase. And then the lower cost plan had a 23% increase, which averaged out, I guess, over the plan.
26% was the higher cost plan, I mean, the lower cost plan increase. And they averaged out to like 23 point something, I think.
yeah, that sounds familiar to what.
Which is the
Yeah.
26% increase.
The
in
lower
cost.
The lower,
And that's what most of our employees
that's correct. The majority of our employees are on that lower cost plan because that involves lower contribution for them as well.
And is that a high deductible health plan? Can they do an
No.
HSA? It's just the lower cost.
Yes, it's a site of service plan.
Mhm.
So that's what brings the cost down a little bit. They have to go to site of service providers if they want to kind of reap the full benefit of the plan.
So all the budgets that you will see will contain the significant increase in health insurance rates.
Right.
That's how everybody was asked to budget. Other than remembering that the sheriff's department is not on this health insurance, the sheriff's department is on the Legion Care, so theirs is only, I think, a 10% increase was what theirs was. But their rates also set in January, they don't set in July, so what I did was told the sheriff's department to assume another 10% increase when they did their budget starting in January, so.
Okay, that's good, just baseline knowledge.
So really the only line in my budget that actually includes an unusual increase is 413170, the education and conference line. I have included 8,500 in that, an additional 8,500 in that line to begin an in-house leadership training program, which would be just kind of a general overview of what it is. It's a 12-core leadership program that we would facilitate in-house. My thought is we'll have 12 one-hour sessions over the course. They'll probably be spread out like every 3 weeks. It's really a way to reach all of our team leaders who have kind of frontline supervisory skills, who might step into those positions and be really, really great at what they do, but never really had to do that supervisory role. So our corporals, our nurses, positions like that, anybody who comes into a position that involves leadership would have to go through this training program.
this addresses some of the issues that we asked you about.
It absolutely does.
Seen some of them. Yeah, and she,
We have,
yeah,
we have seen some
yeah.
things that have resulted from, somebody who just,
That particular skill set.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the 8,500 is we can train up to 20 individuals. And I think that's a good start. I think that is a really good start to be able to get all of our frontline supervisors where they need to be. It includes, just to kind of give you an idea of what those core leadership skills are, accountability, change and resilience. There's a class on coaching, there's a communication class, a conflict resolution class, an emotional intelligence class, empowerment and delegation, motivation, problem solving and decision making, ownership and initiative, teamwork and collaboration, and trust, integrity, and professionalism. And we can kind of design it so that we put them in the sequential order of what we feel is most important that they have. But I think it's it's really important that we have the ability to offer this training to our supervisors. So that's the only increase in the lines in my budget, other than your normal, based on usage increases. I decreased the advertising lines just by 500, so I left that, I decreased that to 10,000 just based on usage. I did increase the travel expense line slightly, due to the county conference being hosted by Grafton County, which will involve a little bit of an additional cost, there for myself and staff for the county conference. Otherwise, pretty standard.
I have a question. I think that this, supervisor training is great. I just have a couple of
Sure.
specific questions. Do we think 20 is enough to cover people to look at it? Do you think that we have 20 to go right now, or, and is that the right number? And then on the other hand, can someone come partway into it? And then, like if someone gets promoted,
Mhm.
could they come partway in? And is this a set fee or per person fee? I'm just,
It's a per person fee, and the more people you offer it to, obviously, the lower
Yep.
it goes. So I think 20 is a great number to start with. It's something that we would offer on an ongoing basis. So, over the course of a fiscal year, realizing that we work with 24/7 departments, you're probably not gonna be able to get to more than 20 people through that program anyways. And yes, if we had somebody step into a new position, we would bring them in at that point and, start where we're at going forward, making sure they continue on into the next cycle.
and then go what they haven't done before.
Exactly.
Those were my questions of just logistics.
Yes, yeah, and because I think the group that I definitely want to hit, first and foremost are the nurses. And of course, we're always hiring nurses, so they're gonna need to enter into it as they, are hired in. And if we can get through that, the base of our current employees, and then bring employees in as we hire them, I think 20 is a good number, to look at for.
Sounds good. No questions. Thank you. Oh, really is with the chocolate. He's basically this on one of those long fires. Yeah. Okay, for now, we're waiting for the cold. They package them in a British bag, so you can find them and bring them. Yeah. Milk chocolate with almond and honey.
Oh, okay. I thought there might, I've seen them in the store. I thought there might be some filling. Thank you.
And then we have the revenue as well. It starts with the revenue creation. But three different. That should be treated. $100 and revenue.
We are doing regular commissioners meeting if you want to. Maybe a few minutes while we wait.
I guess. 15, so. That may not take us very long.
I had nothing.
I had one, did I have one?
Yeah, it was just the wording on the roll call
Yeah.
vote just got fixed up, so it's really just a grammatical.
And my question is, did Sheriff Myers hop on for a while?
Yeah.
That was my only question is. So I will make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. I'm ready for this. Should we look for her, do you think, or?
Here she comes.
I hear her.
Okay, look at her and her green. Good morning.
My favorite time.
Yeah. We always do this too.
Yes.
Love numbers.
They are so confounding to me, and that's that. Well, there it is. Hi,
Hi, now what do you want to start with?
and let's practice. We'll start with revenue.
Okay.
I have no idea what I'm bringing in.
Okay.
So the reason for that is, obviously, we don't always know how many referrals we're going to get, but we've had a really difficult time getting involved with insurance because they can't separate us from the nursing home. And so we keep doing this run around. So we think we're in, we think we got it out. And we had finally a phone call with somebody who understood. So we went low for insurance reimbursement. The restorative justice program won't know what they're getting for funding until April. So neither do I.
Okay.
And then it's
What
a,
line item was that?
oh, sorry, that's 103.
Okay.
It's not as much as it has been in the past, we know that, but I also have to write for what I think I'm going to need. So I went low on that, just
So the program piece, why did you go low?
well, because we didn't necessarily meet the 10 and
Okay. Oh, right. I see that.
so at 6 months, we're at 4,000.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
right, so it's close to being on track for the 10.
Yeah.
It's so hard to
Sure.
tell. The referrals ebb and flow so much that I just don't wanna over.
Well, thank you for going low. That's important.
Or no?
Not for the revenue, but if we make more, isn't that gonna be great?
Well, we don't want to be
Well,
taken by
I-
surprise if that's why I.
Well, and
Like,
comparing
I
the,
mean-
Go with. I mean,
I mean, I could go for the 10 if that's, I mean,
what if you went in between that one for 8?
okay,
That would, your 6-month actual would justify that,
okay.
I think.
I think that's fair. I just didn't wanna over promise and under deliver.
Yeah.
Hotspot. The insurance, just in considering any future possibilities, if we have providers that we have on partial staff that need to bill insurance. And I can bill for insurance. The new CRSWs can bill for insurance, which is awesome. So we might be able to move more in that direction. It's always been confounding to me just because part of this is the BDAS grant, right? And that we get that grant funding. And if we're billing insurance, we don't get from BDAS, and what does that mean for? So it's a lot to consider. We're gonna go slow and see what it looks like.
So the report that you give us with your monthly report, in that revenue chart that you do, which of these categories are included on that?
The BDAS funding is in there. The restorative justice one is not. Insurance has not been on there because we haven't been, but all the program fees are on there. So it's BDAS and program fees.
So with the insurance, who do you bill primarily?
So I
Or who do you expect to?
So I've become a member of Medicaid, so I'm an approved provider for Medicaid. So now we have to get into contracts with each of the Medicaid providers. So we just met with New Hampshire Healthy Families. We'll have to talk to WellSense, but then we can also do private insurers, which we don't get a ton of, but we do get them sometimes.
So the problem with the insurance revenues is there's, as we know, big cuts in Medicaid. And especially if we look at the population that you serve, many of those people are on the expanded Medicaid, which is going to be cut or cut drastically. Not all this year, but I think that going low on insurance is probably reasonable because they may not have that much longer.
Yeah.
They also reimburse it incredibly
The low rates.
The good news is, last I knew, and I don't know if this is going to change with the new contract with BDAS, but they will make up the difference. So if BDAS reimburses us a certain rate and you get less of a rate from Medicaid, we can put in for the additional and they cover it. That's how they communicated they worked previously. So as long as they keep that part of their contract the same, we can do that. Was my understanding.
Greg, who does the billing in your department?
Lindsay. Lindsay does it. She's done it before in the past. I've probably zero help. I can argue like a champion with an insurance company about why someone needs to be in treatment.
Yeah.
But the billing, I'm gonna have to learn a lot about. Yeah, which I mean, I'm sure it's not rocket science, but
That means that you have to keep rebilling, turning down usually.
right. And so I think that's part of the reason why we never had done it.
Yeah.
Or we hadn't done it in a really long time. But it might be worth looking into, especially if we have, providers on staff that it would benefit us to do, right? And when we have groups bring in a higher rate, obviously. And so those are things we'll look at it and see if it's worth it. If it's not, then we'll recalibrate.
I will say it's quite complicated.
Yeah.
So it may not be rocket science, but I think it's just almost equally as hard in some
Yeah.
situations.
Right, the billing codes, what they accept, what they don't accept, and for what providers, which has been why we haven't been successful in getting all of this in and figuring it out, because when we think we've got it, we don't have it.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more about the statewide RJ initiative? Is that the line item that you said it's predicted to be low?
Yeah, so it's going to be lower but they just don't know the full amount yet because DCYF hasn't shared what they're going to be giving for money for the restorative justice program. BDAS is getting some funding, but the state cut restorative justice out of the alcohol fund, I believe. So we're not getting the money that we used to get from the alcohol fund, or it's a reduced amount. I think they took it out completely and they might have put a little back in. I think that's how it went. But yeah, so we're not getting what we would normally get or what we need. That's actually part of the reason we're doing the restorative justice. The network is creating the the conference this year with all 5 New England states, because some of the other New England states are self-sustaining programs that don't require or rely on state funding. So Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island is involved, Vermont, Maine, and us.
So can you talk just a little bit more about the alcohol fund? So the alcohol fund, does that come from sales at the New Hampshire liquor store? Is that where the?
No, I don't know. I don't think that's how I thought it was. I think it was just a fund. I don't know if it was, not that, I don't know the answer to that.
That's fine, but that's, you traditionally gotten funding from the alcohol fund, and so why do we not anymore?
Federal changes
Okay.
in how the funding
Okay,
is
thank you.
delineated.
Thank you.
Sorry, yes. I don't
No,
know if it comes from
right.
alcohol sales though, or if it's just called that.
Education, right, no, that's a lot of.
I do know the state legislature, it's part of the state budget.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
it's fund a lot of,
Mhm.
lot of programs in
Yeah.
the state.
The alcohol fund?
The alcohol fund, and I do believe it comes from the sales. of alcohol.
And it's, you said it's federal cuts, but, or it sounds like more state cuts.
so I think it's trickled down. So there were some, it sounded like there were some federal expectations about how that
Oh,
state money could be spent,
oh,
but it wasn't part of all of that conversation. I just received the information
Yeah.
and clearly didn't retain it in an intelligent way.
So this is what I thought, it comes from the sale of alcohol. Liquor sales managed by the Liquor Commission and by statute is
Yeah.
intended to receive 5% of that gross profits to support substance abuse treatment recovery.
Yeah, it does fund a lot of, or it did fund a lot of programs. It's cut back on the programs that it's funding.
And it's the Governor's Commission on Alcohol and Other Drugs that makes those decisions.
Okay.
on where it goes, how much goes into each pot.
So they've changed something and the juvenile program.
While the law stipulates 5%, it's not usually, the budget does not usually have that full 5% put into the alcohol fund to go out. It's fully funded. It's rarely been fully funded. I only remember one time it was ever fully funded. It was during Lynch's time. And then we had a recession and boom, there it went.
Yeah.
And I would guess, as Commissioner McLeod, you may have the answer to this, that a lot of this is as a result of the back of the budget cuts. Last year, when they made cuts and then they had the extra percentages of back of the budget cuts that people had to do, I would assume that that's probably part of it.
Most of that comes out of the Department of Health and Human Services.
That had a big back of the
Yeah,
budget.
it's just provided with a certain percentage that they have to take off. They have to decide on their own
Where it goes.
where that money is taken from.
Yep.
So we spend a lot of time in New Hampshire advocating for fully funding that alcohol. I think it's an important one.
So hopefully the good news is that the network will figure out how to do a better, like more self-sustaining funding so that we can keep going and do our job. The AS budget. Do you want to just talk about the places that are increased, or do you want to go line by line?
No, I think if you wanna, unless there are any new provisions that the changes in that you wanna explain, you can just go down to the 170 line.
Okay, yeah, so the CRSWs are obviously, they're funded under the opioid abatement funds. But I did include in some of the line items here some things that I thought as we've evolved, might want to support them in. So the education and training is one of those things, but the increase mainly is because there are 3 staff, myself included, that wanted to attend the county conference. That is
oh, yeah.
probably the biggest increase there.
Have you contributed ideas to the education workshops?
You're on the committee.
Oh, you're on the
Look
committee.
at that.
I
Not only.
failed miserably yesterday at Family Feud.
Oh, is that one of the ideas?
And so this morning I'm doing my hair and I'm like, I thought of several words that rhyme with election. Past the time. 230 hasn't changed. We used money to get our gain assessment last week from fiscal year 26. So I'm really excited about that. We've got some really good assessment tools on board. So we'll keep that the same just to cover the cost of those assessment tools. Dues have increased a bit because we have the CRSWs and I would like them to be members of NADAC and the HADICA so that they can get less expensive trainings or free trainings. So make up for it on the other end. Postage is the same. 390 supplies, we kept the same. Graduation expenses, we cut back because clearly we didn't need as much as we thought we did. And again, it depends on how many graduates we have at a graduation. And they're quarterly, so there's only 4 a year, so we figured we could definitely cut back. The cell phones, or the telephone, which is our cell phone lines and our copper lines, the fax and the landline over there is 4,500. So we have more cell phones. And we had to get Tom a new cell phone and that increased the rate. And our copper lines are more than they were last year. That happened in the middle of last year, didn't it? When all of a sudden the price changed on the copper lines. So that's just a reflection of what the bills are. Travel expense, we cut back 1,000. So that's, again, with the juvenile restorative justice mileage, it really depends. When we have a high census, we're traveling to all of the schools that we cover in this part of the county. So mileage can be higher, but I also think I added a little, I took a little off because Tom's car, we didn't really know where that was going to land for Scarlett, our car. And I think we've got that figured out. So we cut back.
So on 7:30, there's not a lot spent. Is there something that's coming up?
Yes.
You're expecting to spend?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll get, we're gonna get a new set of tires for him. And we'll have to do the routine maintenance. So part of that is the oil changes, the regular oil changes, and we had to get brakes done, gasoline and new tires. So yes,
Yeah, with the gas costs going up quite a bit.
yeah.
Just going back to 170 for a minute, so, I heard what you said, the county conference,
Mhm.
for staff, does that account for the bulk of the increase? Are the
Yes.
other two, it does?
Yeah.
And are the other two, I'm thinking that the CEs are required in the annual Texas?
Treatment, sorry, I'm sorry.
Over to Texas?
Annual treatment court conference. That's just Tom and Shelley. That's the mental health and drug court conference that they go to annually.
What?
It's in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have probably written that out.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, that's just treatment court. That's every year, same. And we're hoping at some point,
I know, I know.
drug court is paid for that conference and mental health court isn't for some reason. So, still paying for it.
And if we go up to the beginning, does, out of the staff members, does everyone get steps? And is all your steps in your COLA into the, salary lines?
Yes, and the CRSWs have their own line item for that.
Any changes on the next page?
Nope.
You'll see pretty big increases in everybody's insurance.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
We'll see that throughout the budget because our rates went up.
Okay. Any questions on that one? Okay. The BDAS budget.
So just, if you can be clear on how that's different than the BDAS revenue that you get, that's on your revenue. It's different. So one is reimbursements and one is a grant.
No,
Okay,
the revenue is the grant,
okay.
and the grant is used to offset the expenses that we have.
All right.
So
Thank you.
they're broken out into two budgets because the 4117 are our direct substance use disorder treatment costs that we are able to receive grant funding for property tax. So. But that gets 284,000 in expenses and we get 189,000 back from you.
Okay.
That's why you'll see the different percentages and salary lines, because we have different positions that are split between that are grant funded and that the Family Sentencing Department pays for.
Okay, and so really, all the way down to, no changes all the way down to 370, is that right?
Right. So dues and subscriptions has increased it. We received electronic medical record support from the commissioners through the ARPA funding. It was supposed to be this incredible program. It was gonna give us all these wonderful reports. It didn't do what we thought it was going to do. So, and it's very expensive. So we're going to discontinue it and go back to our very simple web-based platform. So the increase in cost in dues and subscriptions is because Theranostis, the electronic medical record that we used previously, that is gonna cost us much less money. So it's increased here, but it's off the top on another area that we would have.
How much was the allotment, from ARPA?
$6,000 per year for 3 years. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be, and it's just, and it basically what they were, they're in production of all of these systems that they want to have in place. And they have really great stuff in some ways, but one of the things we're like, you said you were HIPAA compliant, and I'm noticing that somebody can go in and change these notes, like a staff could go in and change. So we had to figure out and navigate that, and they corrected it for us right away, which is great. But like just some things that we're like, okay, we just need safety and security.
Yeah.
So, no changes except the education supplies we decreased from 500 to 300, 395. And then 680 is an increase for the telephones, just because of the increase, I think, in the hold on. Oh, yeah, it was an increase in our phone lines because we had to upgrade our phones as well. It's not cute how they get outmoded and then you have to upgrade them because you can't update them anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. So that's why it's a little more. Travel expense, we kept the same, equipment rentals the same, and then our satellite offices, the West Lab office is increasing their by 3%. So that accounts for the increase. That is offset by North Country Health Consortium, though they split the cost of that office for us, so we get half of that back.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I wrote my questions and I think she's wrong.
Okay, well, thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy your math things.
I think I would say.
Thank you.
I saw her. Somewhere, right? So you
Yeah, they're outside.
Hi. Good hand for the conservation.
Yes,
Yeah.
come on in.
Yeah, come on in, sit down, join us. Yeah. No, when I introduce yourself and what I introduce ourselves, I'm Martha. I just been two, Commissioner.
Wayne Piper, District 1.
Katie Hepburn, District 3.
I'm Laura Sokolowski, District Manager for the Conservation District.
I'm Rick Walling, Chair of the district.
You hung in there for quite a while, I'm sure. Thank you. All right, so we have the information on the budget, we've got your notes and let's report that you sent us ahead of time. So if you wanted to step on down, you
I also
some good stuff. Yeah.
Got some copies.
Oh,
of the
good.
report
Thank you.
written
Thank you.
down. Going from the top down, for the position, our request is reflective of the step increase and also the additional increased cost of living. And that is the increase. Social Security was also just the regular increase, as well as life insurance. I'm new to this position as of 6 months ago. So that's respective of just the difference in person in this position. Life insurance similarly reflective of instead of family life insurance for a single person. And the rest are also reflective of just changes year to year. For the conservation district, my position, my salary comes from the county, and we are very lucky to use the office in the county. Our activity budget does come through our own activities. So through our fundraisers, such as our plant sale and the sale of trout and cover crop feed. So in the little additional packet, there's a couple of charts on the second and third page reflecting our income and operating expenses for 2025. And as you can see, the vast majority of that is our plant sale, both purchasing plants and selling the plants. Last year, we sold more in the plant sale than budgeted, which is reflective of the higher income. And for expenses, it includes things like our Jim Page Conservation Scholarships, which are sending students in Grafton County to Often Berry Conservation Camp. And last year, we were able to send 3 students there for half scholarships each. We also provide workshops, our monthly meetings, and education materials across the county.
So I do want to note, just for those who are less familiar, that usually look at the 6 month at full costs, and so, and then sort of double that and try to think about it that way, but because how long was the position open for any amount of time? No. So the, but how do you account for that?
Well, that's not true. We're in start of September.
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah.
And so it was open. Pam retired in June, I believe, so it was vacant for 3.
Yeah.
Pam filled in some, but.
Yeah.
It was virtually vacant for 3 months.
So that kind of accounts for that.
Yeah, because we budgeted for the full year for the salary.
Right. Okay. Questions?
Yeah, just a comment. Thank you for the annual report, and I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for the loss of Gary
Mhm.
Peters.
He was a force of nature
Uh-huh.
in a very quiet
Yep,
way.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. But a good mentor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I would love to sit down with you, and the legislative session was a really good bouncing between here and Concord and my work. So as soon as that slows down, then I'll connect with you sometime. So,
Definitely, I'm always happy to.
great. Any concerns, questions? All right.
Thank you,
Thanks a lot.
thank you for the work you're doing. And I mentioned before, I did have the opportunity to meet, and it was a great conversation, and I learned a lot.
Thank you for coming by, and thank you all for everything that you do.
Well, it's nice to have you here. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One.
All
All right, here we go.
We're right on topic. Amazing.
Revenue that budget that.
Because Jim Barrett, yeah. This is gone so smoothly, and then we had one of Jim, which should be someone.
Yeah, and Jim's probably gonna, I think we might do his report and his bids, and then he may have to allow Renzo to, cause I didn't know we were gonna do a courthouse conversation, so. But he and I talked yesterday, and
Oh,
if a half an hour is not enough, then he'll come back after Renzo.
So when are we doing a courthouse conversation?
At the end of Jim's report,
Okay.
part of his, at the
Oh,
end
okay.
of his report, we got an update yesterday from
Okay.
the Valley, so he wants to go over that with the board.
Okay,
we do have clear.
I know, that's what I'm.
I would love to be able to hear his legal and ask him to do highlights on
On the report and then
report.
more time on that.
Yeah.
Are you leaving early?
It's gonna leave at 11:30.
All right, so, if you're all set, I will start off with, Commissioner's office and miscellaneous stuff. Typically start off with all of the miscellaneous revenue that, we're responsible for. I think those are further back your
First page.
first tab. It's, got highlights on it, there, right there.
There it is. Okay, got it.
All right. So the sections that aren't department specific are filled in on these sheets. The first sections are the state and federal funds, abandoned property. As you are all now aware, we receive abandoned property sheet payments, they're called, from the state of New Hampshire. We receive them annually, one time in June. This number represents and basically an overall average. Honestly, the payments vary so greatly from year to year, it's really hard to project. Last year's was 315,000. It's rarely been below 100,000, but it has been below 100,000, and there's no way for us to predict what that number's gonna be, so. I left it at 110,000. The other payment is the federal payment in lieu of taxes payment. That comes to us from the federal government, the US Department of Treasury. And 130 is the average payment that we've received over the years from that, so I left that at what that was at. On the next page is starting towards the middle of the page, interest. I had a conversation with Treasurer Cryans. And we are, it looks like, on target to make the $275,000 projection that we have for fiscal year 2026. Obviously not according to the 6 month, but the first 6 months of the year, we don't have any money. So have made great strides in January and February interest income. And just given the unknowns and the concern of the drop in interest rates, we did lower the projections for fiscal year 27 to 250,000. Leave the $300 in interest on taxes. The next line item is the courthouse rent, or should just basically say rental income. That is made up of 4 different rental agreements, 3 of which are with the state of New Hampshire, and include any increases that we have negotiated in any of those agreements. So next year's projection is for $391,594. Section labeled human resources, recoveries. That is monies that we get back from the state of New Hampshire. Primarily, it's a Medicaid reimbursement type of revenue. It's for any Medicaid expenses that we have paid out for Grafton County residents whom the state may collect money from sale of property, or the state gets reimbursed for the Medicaid, and then we get a portion of that back as recoveries. Again, a fairly unpredictable revenue source. We've used 100,000 for quite a while. I think the last 2 years we haven't quite made it to the 100,000 mark. So I did lower it to 75,000 for fiscal year 2027. On the miscellaneous section, we no longer get the retiree drug subsidy because our retirees that we carry on health insurance now are on a Medicare Advantage plan, not a Medicare supplemental plan. So we do not have the RDS any longer. Miscellaneous general revenue is a line item we leave open with $3,000 in it every year. We usually pick up $3,000 along the way in some miscellaneous form. USAC subsidy, is monies that we receive, for what's called rural healthcare. It's a rural healthcare subsidy, so it's monies that we spend on information technology specifically for the nursing home. And it's primarily, the subsidy is based off of our Thrive invoices that we pay out. We also get a subsidy, a small subsidy for our consolidated bill, our Spectrum bill, and our UNH bill, which are all internet service providers that we pay out to. So we get monies back on all of that. Next year's is projected to go up a little bit. Our Thrive invoices are going up some, so we're projecting 147,584. You'll see we haven't collected any yet this year. The subsidy typically doesn't get approved and come in until later into the fiscal year. So I anticipate that we'll start seeing that subsidy. When I did the budget, I checked and it still had not been authorized or approved yet. So we're still waiting on it. The other section, obviously, that's highlighted is the surplus. February numbers, that is when I take the first stab at the surplus. I have not gotten February financial reports yet. We anticipate those will come today. So Holly and I will be sitting down and going through the surplus initial projections this week. So we'll have some information to share about that, but as of right now, that because it's so early, and I really like to start that with February financial reports. Once we get those, we'll go through those.
So is this number from the January or is this just
The 1,000,007 is what we used this year.
okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, that's currently what's in the budget.
Right.
I'm hoping that we're level funded with that and there's no impact on surplus, but we obviously need to go and look at where we're at. And do some conducting out for the next 6 months. So now if you're gonna go back to the beginning of your tab 1 to the commissioner's office budget. So unlike the budgets that you've talked through thus far, we do have a change to talk about, in the commissioner's office budget going forward for fiscal year 27. I will be retiring during fiscal year 2027. So this budget has been configured based on my retirement and a 3-month overlap with a new county administrator. So when you see the increase, the significant increase in the county administrator line, that is not all my salary. Let's make sure everybody knows that right off the bat. That does include a 3-month overlap with an additional person and then an additional person taking over at my retirement. It also includes COLA. I'm at max, so there's no step increase for me, but that's why that looks the way it does. Other than that, going down the salary line items, there are just step increases and the COLA included for our staff here, which includes assistant county administrator, the administrative assistant, and then 3 full-time finance staff positions. As you all know, the delegation will be meeting in the next couple of months to set elected official salaries. It's currently just left at what it is right now. We'll adjust those once any changes are made by the delegation. The health insurance line item does reflect the overlap as well. So there's a little bit bigger increase in that than just the increases in It's my health insurance for 7 months and then an overlap with the new, person for 3 months. So the next item, education and conference, there's an increase in that line item as you've also already heard, our post county for the New Hampshire Association of Counties Conference this year, which, will fall in fiscal year 2027. So there's money in there for all of our staff to attend at some point in time during the conference. The consultant line,
Is that not really for that?
yeah, because the rest of it's the travel line. It's
Oh,
split.
okay.
These are just the registrations.
Okay.
And it's only for staff. It doesn't include the commissioners because yours is it's broken into 3 different line items.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
The consultant line, is an increase. There is funding in that line item, to pay for any, consulting services that might be needed during the transition between county administrators. It's there just as an insurance. If it needs to be used, it's there. If it doesn't, it won't be used. And certainly up for discussion as we work through the budget process. We allocate, back to the nursing home, specific percentages for accounting services. The breakdown of that's included in your, book a little bit further back, if you're interested in that. Audit services are also increasing, as you are aware, we put the audit out to bid. The audit price is $10,000 more than it was, in this current fiscal year. We split the audit 50-50 with the nursing home. Then we also have an actuarial cost that we have to calculate in for our, what's called OPEB calculations. OPEB stands for other post-employment benefits, that we carry a liability on the financial statements for, and that liability has to be calculated by an actuarial, and we do every other year, we do the full calculation, and then in the opposite year, they just update the calculation, so it's usually about half of what it is in the other year.
Yep. So can I start my comments, or I just have a question that might be a little bit controversial?
And it's on this area.
Yeah, it's on the, it seems to me that I heard the employee council talk about this a couple of years ago, but I'm not sure. I'm just wondering, it's food for thought. So because the step increase in the COLAs are based on a percentage, there are really big, with tons of respect, there are really big increases for the higher salaried folks. But then pretty small increases like 003, pretty small increases for folks that are lower down on the salary ladder. And I know that that's because of the percentage.
Well, and in 003, there's no step increase because that employee is maxed out. So you really can't judge just
Can't.
based on like looking at it, because there's different scenarios in each individual employee's salary line item. So
Okay,
like on the finance 004 line, there's 1 or 2 employees maxed out as well. So, it's just hard to like.
so the step, so that the COLA is included, but the step increase is not included for 003 because step.
Because the employee is at max. And 001, there's no step increase either. It's not that, but that you can't even, that position is just not comparable this year because of the additional overlap of another person.
Okay. Was that, can I just ask that, was that something that was commented on by the employee council a while ago about how the increases were just the fact that the percentages fall heavier for the larger salaries than the other?
I mean, the employee council has asked for, a dollar amount cost of living.
That's what it
adjustment in the
was.
past, but
That's
they've
what it
already, as
was.
you know, this year agreed to the.
Yeah, that's what it was. Thanks, okay. Something, okay.
you know, the intelligence.
It's budget season, so I thought I would just do the original shot across the bow, and then I'll be quiet.
Our dues line is decreased slightly. In part, that's due to the Amazon Prime membership that we now have through the New Hampshire Association of Counties, so we do not pay for that.
Are they going to help sponsor the conference again?
They, I'm sure will. I don't think they're one of the ones that have already signed up, but.
Okay.
There aren't any changes. There's just a slight bump in our telephone line just based on usage. So the travel and expense line for the commissioners is up just a little bit, based on usage and, there is monies in here for one commissioner to attend a NACO conference. We didn't talk about that, so I don't know what the plans are for NACO conferences. There is funding in here.
I think it's my turn.
And I had, last year was a separate, so I'm not planning this year to ask.
So there's funding in there for a commissioner, and then you'll see the NHAC annual conference, that covers all three of you for all 3 days for, lodging and, conference registrations. And then just your general, eating mileage, so that is up just a little bit, just $500. And the travel expense for the commissioner's office is also up. This is where all of the overnight stays for the conference are included for this year.
My concern about the travel reimbursement, because we'll go into January 27. And I'm assuming that because of the increase in gas prices, that we're gonna see an increase in the federal reimbursement rate.
I think they'll think of us.
No, I'm just.
Well, they adjust it every year.
Yeah,
Right, and I think,
do we need to worry about that?
I don't
Is that a
know, I mean,
significant
later in the meeting, you're gonna open fuel bids and,
Yeah.
is it wise to enter into a fuel contract? Now, who knows what's gonna happen with
I
fuel
know,
prices, so
right?
anyways,
Doesn't look good.
I mean, we can certainly look at that if you think we should address that, but that's, why what it's currently based off of the 72.5 that it is now. That's really it for any significant changes within, obviously. My retirement is a fairly significant event in the.
Yes, and it's part of us for not having a breakdown around that right now. We're all just holding it in.
Oh, I think we are, yeah. I think we're holding it in.
And we had a little warning, so it wasn't,
Yeah.
we didn't fall off our
In case we
chairs
were
when we
calm,
heard.
in case we were calm, yeah.
We didn't
Yeah.
know something was coming.
There were rumors.
And we got to see the budget. It came last week, so we could ask some questions.
So are there any other questions on the commissioner's office budget?
So I'll just ask about the 3-month overlap, and are we thinking, that this will be an overlap in terms of, people in the position, or will this be more of a consulting kind of overlap position?
My understanding was that you would like to hire appoint the new person 3 months prior to my my retirement, so
Okay. So I kind of.
that's what it includes, is 3 months of the new, a new person.
Okay.
So if we're good with that, next are the miscellaneous accounts, which start with this little spreadsheet that shows you this total.
So we're skipping these.
Those are just the accounting breakdown, the accounting allocation breakdown, if you're interested in how the specific percentages of the specific positions that we allocate.
Yes. Thank you.
So there are 7 different categories, if you will, in the miscellaneous budgets. They're in more, the detail is following these totals page. The first one is a category that we call wage and benefit adjustment. There are some significant increases in that particular, budget, that's 8670 is the account numbers. And in that field, those pages, not,
They're not ours. What you have in front of you is not ours.
Unless it's someplace else. In there. I didn't have it. We just sent the title page.
I didn't, oh, I did send them to you, just,
Oh,
Oh, is it in?
yeah, it should be in, but I can, we can.
was it in
so I-
the first or second sending?
I sent you the commissioner's office budget for, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not-
So that was on 312, I believe.
We'll get copies of
Yeah.
those for your
Yeah.
folks.
Everyone see that?
Not quite.
Is it titled miscellaneous expense accounts?
Yep. So the first category is the wage and benefits, and this is made up of several different types of things. So the first line item is health reimbursement account. You may or may not remember this, but currently with our low cost health insurance plan, county reimburses the first 50% of the employee's deductible. So this is the expense line. This is the non-nursing home expense line for those expenses. We get a monthly bill from the company that manages this for us, and we pay monthly any deductible costs that are reimbursed to the employees through that program. You'll see we've spent 51,000 through the first 6 months. When I prepared the budget, I could also see January's, which was a little bit higher. So I believe that we need to increase that to 120,000 for next year.
And this is only if we continue with the current health insurance.
Right. There are potentially some changes in this particular budget if changes are made to the health insurance plans.
Okay.
Educational assistance, we do offer an educational assistance program. We have not had anyone take advantage of that,
400
And-
employees and nobody.
at least in the last
Yeah.
5 years. So I decreased that this year just because we had increases in some other areas, so. Our retiree health insurance, does have an increase in it. The Medicare Advantage plan, that we currently offer increased 16% as of January 1st. That will also, those rates renew in January, not in July. So I anticipated a 10% increase for next January of 2027. That could also change depending on what we do with health insurance as well. Part of our meeting tomorrow was talk about, we haven't actually even gotten the quotes for retirees section of,
Who's in our area?
Anthem.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, we use Health Trust as our administrator, so our insurance is through Health Trust, but it's Anthem. So that is increased, the flexible spending administration has also increased. That again, so in addition to the deductible contributions that the county makes, anybody that has the lower cost SOS plan, we make a $500 contribution to a flexible spending account for them. So that offsets that. So this particular, but we have 187 employees currently on that plan, but this includes, so throughout the year, it would include turnover. So every new people, all the new people that we bring on. So I've anticipated 215 participants at the $500 the SOS plan. Again, if we make changes, that number could change. Wellness funding, we leave $500 in there on an annual basis for wellness initiatives. The earned time buyback, I have increased, and if you look at the first, so we do 2 installments of the earned time buyback where employees are eligible to buy back their own earned time. We spent 47, almost 48,000 in the first buyback of the year. Typically, that buyback is larger because it's done in December and more people would take advantage of it just before Christmas. But I do believe, you know, we won't have enough this year. I think we may be overexpended. We'll do the second one in June. So, I did increase that $100,000. The employee benefit payout line. So this line item pays out when employees resign in good standing and when employees retire, they're paid out 100% of their earned time bank, and then different percentages for different circumstances under their extended sick leave banks. In fiscal year 2027, you're going to have at least a couple of department head retirements that will be significant payouts. So, and we also have some other employees that I'm aware of will be retiring as well. So, I have increased that to 175,000. You can also see we're tracking high on that. And through February, when I did the budget, it's even higher. I think we've spent 68,000 through February. And that's just a really unpredictable number because you don't know who's gonna terminate throughout the year, be paid out whatever benefits that they have. So, knowing that we have a couple of significant retirements, I did increase that just based on that. And the Social Security, is the Social Security expense to the county based on the earned time buyback and the retirement, they include benefit payouts. So that's just counted on the 275,000. So that particular section of the miscellaneous accounts has a pretty significant increase in it for this upcoming fiscal year.
Questions?
But also has some room for changes as well.
Right.
We made some changes to the health insurance. The next section is the tax anticipation interest. That also is increased. Our tax anticipation increase this year, interest this year was $61,437. So over the 50 that we budgeted. I anticipate we'll probably borrow a similar amount of money up in this upcoming fiscal year. And with interest rates, I just wanted to be safe, so we did increase that to 75,000. Next section is our bonded debt. These are our payments for next year, their payment schedule. You'll see they go down each year, they decrease. So those are the bond payments on the jail bond that remains. The next section is we call contingency. This has the outside counsel in it. You can see this year we're tracking far better than we have been the last couple of years in outside counsel. So I did leave that at 75,000. Then we have two other line items in here, which is the commissioner's contingency line item, which I left at 2,500. And then the county government promo does have an increase. Has a couple of increases. One is tied to us being the host county. I do have an expense in there for that. That is not something that's necessarily required, but I think it gives us an opportunity to do some of the things that we would like to do as the host county for the conference. So I have put the request in there to do that. Certainly can discuss that in more detail as we go through the process, but that is the big increase in that line item for the us being held. Then the other two sections, unemployment insurance, I did decrease that. Again, I don't think we've had an unemployment expense since before COVID, so I just leave the money in there, in case we do have that. Then the second to last section is the delegation expenses, which is just simply mileage that we pay the delegation. And then the last item is the transfer to the dispatch capital reserve account. As you know, we've historically, we've done 10% of the dispatch revenue appropriated back to the dispatch capital reserve account. I think maybe the last 5 years, we've only done 5%. I don't have the actual dispatch budget yet, so I don't actually have the revenues. These are based off of last year's revenue, but it's 10%-ish of the dispatch revenue that's in here now, and obviously subject to discussion as we go through.
So that's like twice as much, is that right?
Yeah, because we did 5% last year.
Okay.
So if we went back to the historic 10%,
Mhm.
that would be what the close to what the contribution would be.
Okay.
So those are all of the miscellaneous accounts that aren't tied to individual department budgets. And as we continue to work through the health insurance, we may have some changes to those line items, but as it stands today, this is what it looks like. Yeah.
Questions, comments?
No, thank you.
That concludes our budget presentation for today's work. And look at that, like basically right on time, so that's awesome.
So our next one is Tuesday, March 24th.
And Jim's doing his budget on Tuesday, because he's up on Thursday,
Okay.
so,
Perfect.
so just be Jim's budget, because I had to squeeze that in. And the farm budget, is the farm budget already in their books? Farm budget is in your books. I will send you Jim's budget electronically once I receive it, because you won't be back here before.
Isn't there an incentive? Maybe
Yeah.
meeting next week?
Yeah, but if you might want it before Monday. If you don't, then it will be in your books on Monday, but. And then the rest of them,
I didn't realize that they would had rescheduled to next Monday.
but next Monday's their regular,
Oh, all right, well,
we didn't necessarily reschedule it, it's their regular farm meeting.
no. Yeah, wait. Nothing. Yes, so given the time and the addition of the courthouse report, the one thing that you might do highlights, and I know you do highlights, but I mean, if you can highlights. Yeah, highlight the highlights for us through this, so that we have that time for that discussion around the courthouse update.
All right, so starting out with complex. The generator that supports the nursing home and the biomass plant has a engine front acoustical damper or timer belt shroud that's failing. Then cracking from vibration, it's just old and brittle. And the concern is if anything chunks off, it's going to get into a timing belt, which could cause a much more expensive repair. The way this is installed, it's going to take 3 days to replace this. And so I can't be without backup power for those two facilities. So the big cost of that is going to be a temporary generator that's brought in, unwire the old one, wire the new one in, and reverse it and you're done. Generator alone, $7,500. And they basically rent it out in weekly increments. So anyway, this will be a cost I'll be requesting in the FY27 budget. We've stabilized the cover for now, so it's not going to come apart, but it's just a temporary fix. And so the real fix is this, and it's
So
going to be,
can we really wait that long?
we can wait that long. So if I didn't think we would, then we just bite the bullet and do it. So moving down to the nursing home, just want to give an update on, I did some research the other day and it was like, wow, I keep track of all the usage in buildings. And last time I checked on, I have this document, it's called the energy conservation document. It shows what we've done in the various buildings. And so I went back, looked at what we were using for electricity in all the buildings 10 years ago and compared it to today. And it was like, wow, in the nursing home, we've been able to reduce our energy consumption 15%. And that's not just LEDs, but it's also through that, building automation system update that we did, that's helped do that.
That's great.
And when we get to the admin building, it's hugely significant. And the reason being, it's more contributed to the building automation because of what we can do in that building that we can't in the nursing home, because that's occupied 24/7, whereas this isn't. But, all right, so moving down, the Secure Care Extension Project, we did one more door. Also found out that we are having some radio frequency from one of the washers in the laundry that's messing with a couple of the new controllers. So we gotta put in what they call a radio frequency filter on the machine, and that should resolve it.
What is the point of that on that?
Well, there's a variable frequency drive, and it's an energy conservation device that basically only uses the absolute energy needed versus just running at 100%. We have a lot of those throughout. But anyway, and it's weird, only one of them's doing it, and they all have variable frequency
Makes me
drive.
wonder about home, like what's going on in the house as well.
So, yes, as soon as we get that, Dustin, our electrician, will install it, and then ESL Distributors, who's the company that installed these, will come back and they'll, because the old existing locations have a different frequency, but Craig wants to eventually put everything or add proximity cards to the building, and you have to use that new frequency. Anyway, still working with Craig and his vendor on trying to iron out these nurse call system. It's gonna replace the one that's there. The old system is just getting to the point where it's non-supportable. It's really hard to find replacement parts. So we've been working diligently on that, trying to just iron that out, and should be able to put that up to bid here sometime in the next few months. Moving on to page 2. In the granite tub room, which is the second floor of the newer building, we've got a shower we've had problems with over the years. And I'm thinking what the problem is it may not have been constructed right from day one. And I think my guess is they didn't put in a rubber membrane pad or pan underneath where the shower and the drain is. And they just grouted everything. And as the grout's failing, it's going down through to the next floor. So in order to fix that, that's got to be totally rebuilt. So I'm going to be budgeting for that in this next budget, FY27. The other thing, windows, we've got a number of fog windows. Those will be budgeted in 27. Had a sprinkler repair that was done. I mean, you can go through and read this afterwards. Moving down to the admin building, the actual savings is 62%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Also under this building has its own underground storage tank. It's out in the parking lot. You probably noticed cones around it. While plowing, what happened was water had gotten into one of the sumps and the ice expands and pushed the cover up and the plow caught it. And anyway, it was something that needed to be replaced, but now it's more imminent. Basically, you've got a cast in place ring that goes into this concrete that surrounds it, and then the cover sits in that. Basically, it was corroding pretty badly to begin with, but that all has to be redone. So you're gonna saw cut the pavement, and anyway, that's gonna be an expensive job that we're budgeting for in FY27 as well. More windows in 27. The steps out front. Contractor has agreed to come back a third time. And I don't have a specific date, but he's assured me he will be back to look at that, as well as showers we're continuing to have issues with, so.
So remind me, the steps, were they done during like a cold time of year? What was just,
So the first time, yes, it was done and they didn't use the right concrete. And so they used a hydraulic cement, which was not the right concrete for that. The second time we specified, we had a process that we wanted them to follow, because we've been successful in-house doing small repairs. And ours have held up. We gave them that process. We weren't out there to hang over their shoulders the whole time to make sure they did that. My guess is they didn't follow it exactly. So.
Yeah.
So under the steps, the contractor responsible, has agreed to come back for a third time to readdress their quality issues. So does that mean there's been more problems that they have not yet addressed, or did it just take 3 times?
Right, you had the initial, when they did the initial job, and then last summer they came back because of failures that occurred, the winter. And then they finished up this past summer, and then this winter we have some more. So it's the same areas,
Yeah.
so.
And one other question up at the granite tub room, just to go back really quickly. So it was never, shower pan was not put in, you're thinking. So I'm just gonna assume that we no longer use that company that did it incorrectly.
I have no idea who actually installed it,
Yeah.
and it's conjecture on my part that,
Yeah,
that I think,
Yeah.
I don't see evidence, because what's happened is as the grout has failed, one would think that you'd see this rubber
Right.
membrane underneath, and I don't see evidence of it,
okay,
so.
thank you.
Moving over to page 3, as you can see, just a number of HVAC and some kitchen issues, but they've all been resolved. Mentioned the showers, that we're having reoccurring issues with that.
That's different, that's.
Same company.
That's the same company as Steps.
And then the last thing is probably most significant was Tim Lethbridge had asked if we could somehow modify the garage door, so if central ever went down, they'd be able to go out and mechanically operate those doors through separate electric switches that aren't tied to their controls, and so we were able to do that. Moving down to bottom of page 3 in the dairy barn, the milk line, pulsator wiring harnesses, those are things that hooks to like the udder apparatus that does the pulsing to get the milk. Anyway, it's been a lot of path repairs over the year. It's still functional, but really the whole system needs to be rewired. So we're planning to do that next year. And then on page 4, we should have fuel bids, trash bids, and I also want to talk to you about contracts that are coming up for renewal that for this budget. And I need to get approval for them because of the amounts.
So you have a fuel bid
Okay,
from Dead River.
So we only received one bid, the fuel bid.
Correct.
Okay, let's see. Sorry, my eyes is going. The 26-27 off-road diesel fixed price quote is 3.6002. These fixed price offers do not include any new taxes or fees that may be imposed on fuel sales not in this time. So that's it.
okay, we're currently paying like 2.997.
Hmm.
My guess is it's related to all that's going on in the Middle East. You are gonna have to look into your crystal ball and decide what you want to do. And because I have no idea where things are gonna go.
It's up to 60 cents in it.
Yep.
And so you need an answer on this.
Well, you need to decide whether you're gonna accept it or whether you're gonna reject it and put it out to bid in hopes of maybe getting a lower bid at some
Why do
point.
you think that we did not get any other bids?
Irving, I thought Joel was gonna send one because the person that I sent the solicitation to emailed me last week and said, hey, do you still want bids with everything that's going on? I said, yes,
Oh,
but apparently a bid was not submitted.
so interesting question, huh? What's your projection?
Like I said, my crystal ball is as good as yours, okay? I personally feel that things are gonna drag on. But that's just my gut and,
And then this.
I'm not clairvoyant, I don't know.
Do you wanna hold out for just a very short time and get back to Irving Oil and see if they prod them and see if they would send the bids since you thought they were going to?
Okay, well, you'd probably have to reject this and then just
Right,
solicit.
I think their answer is indicative.
Okay.
you know, the fact that they're like, what, you really want to do it now? Is there another time that's good for us to do a bid or?
Well, I know as far as the budget goes, as far as the window, we don't have a lot of time, but, you know, this has happened before where we've rejected and gone out and tried to get in hopes of getting something less. But, I mean, it's anybody's guess as to which way it's gonna go, so it's,
So do they ever, with significant changes, have we ever had anyone, cancel our contract with them?
not that the only one we ever had issues with was Gary's Fuel, remember that years ago? But that was,
So in other words, you feel like if we go with this, it will last us through the next budget year?
yeah, I mean, we're not talking a lot of fuel, it's not like we're talking, you know, like the propane thing, which is like 36,000
Yeah.
gallons, you're talking. What is it, about 5,700 gallons, I think.
We locked in propane for multi-year, but
We're locked in for this year again for propane, so I didn't have, this is the only fuel commodity I had to bid.
So what do y'all think?
I think we should, I'm happy to go ahead and accept.
Go with it?
Yeah, I think that it could get much worse if we waited and I don't think waiting 6 months is a reasonable, which would be, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, the contract we have now expires.
Right,
30th,
right,
so
so we can't.
We have to do something. We'd either be paying street price at that point or.
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
You do whatever you want, because you know what? I don't know who's right,
Yeah.
and none of us do. So, I mean, you have to go on what you feel would be best and the most prudent, you know, and not to say my decision would be any better than yours.
Time right now, it's certainly not.
As is
more than
everything
that.
else. Glancing down at all the other ones.
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right, anyone want to make a motion for this?
I'll make a motion to accept the bid from Dead River for, I think you said 3.6042,
That's right. Okay. For the diesel.
for the off-road diesel fuel.
Second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
We also had a trash bid
Hey.
Oh.
from Pete's Rubbish Removal.
Hey.
That's what we currently use.
Yes. Right, we would get the other one. That should not be needed.
Yeah.
All right. Right, area. So this is, 2 bids, is that correct? 2 bids? Yeah. Fashion, second. Bid 1, flat monthly rate of $6,150. This includes the trash and recycling containers and pickup schedules listed below, and they list that. Trash empty twice a week, recycling empty once a week. They list the size of the dumpsters.
Okay.
Does that sound correct?
Yeah.
Bid 2, same time period, flat monthly rate of $6,150 with a maximum 5% year-over-year increase in year 2 and 3 for the trash and recycling containers and pickup schedules listed below. Same ones.
For a single year and then for 2 and 3 year.
Is that what you're hearing?
That's fine.
Okay, how much is it per,
1,150.
Per month?
$150 a month. Just, you know,
yeah, it's like staggeringly high.
Yeah.
I was trying to go back and like, I don't remember them signing those
that
that.
was not free.
Yeah, it's like around 3,000,
Yeah.
so.
Well, we live in today.
Unbelievable.
Has there been anything unusual with the trash pickup?
I've had issues with them over in the past. As far as, you know, when they're training new people, you know. I haven't lately, but we have had issues with them, where trash doesn't get picked up, they don't communicate that the truck's broke down and it's not coming. Or there's been issues where the dumpsters creep, and they end up on the lawns, and so, I mean, overall, they've been okay. I personally thought other competitors that were here in the past did a better job, but that's just my observation.
My only knowledge is that most of the trash now is being trucked to Androscoggin Valley. Or not to Bethlehem. Because that's closing, so that could be what's going on.
Just a comment. Well, I don't know if this will take into consideration what you just said, Commissioner. We have used Casella in the past and opted to go with the local company this time. This past time, Casella does support jobs locally. And so I'm wondering, we didn't receive a bid from them.
We did not, this was the only bid we received, and they were specifically.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I solicited Pete's, Casella, and Witcher.
Yeah,
I don't know if Witcher's ever even submitted a bid. If they have, it was years ago. And I don't know if Casella feels that they're not competitive if you're gonna go with a local, a local trash company, maybe that's why. I personally would suggest rejecting the bid, going back and trying to rebid it. And I would,
Yeah,
we're
no, I
talking
can't.
we're talking significant costs here, so. What's that?
I couldn't vote for Casella even if they did bid. Sorry, but the
Well, I just know that,
standards.
you've got the RSA 28(8), and I'm just trying to keep in line with that, I know you have your reasons why you feel the way you feel.
can I
But
just give a comment? I don't know yet how Commissioner Hedberg feels, and I think it was a good shot, to give the business to Pete's. Last time, I'm not very pleased that there's been problems. And so I would support, rejecting this and then reopening it. And like I say, I don't share the same, thoughts, as the commission does regarding Casella, and it does support local jobs.
It does not support my community, so that have issues and given that is closing, that dump is closing. And everyone has to move, most of the communities are moving to Androscoggin Valley. So I'm assuming it's the increase in costs of transporting trash.
Okay.
I was trying to find out how much we're paying, but I don't see that I have an invoice in this month. I have concerns about Casella, so and I think we have, our solid waste is a huge problem for New Hampshire, and the rural areas and probably most of the country because it's not being, it's just, environmentally not being done.
Have you ever solicited from Waste Management?
I have tried soliciting them in the past, and they basically said you're not in our area. And I've tried a couple times, I waited like 5 years to see if maybe something had changed, and
Yeah,
that was pretty much the same result each time.
I mean, we could reject it and put it back out and see if they come back with a different. I don't know if there's a different schedule, is there something we can do any differently?
No, there isn't. As it is, the schedule that we have and the size of the dumpsters that we have require that schedule where they come twice a week for the trash and once a week for the recycling, and that can't vary.
I think the recycling, that whole issue has become more challenging too. It's just less. There's fewer places for that be sold off to.
Well, and where a lot of the recycling centers would make money on recycling in the past, a lot of them are. It looks like you're recycling and then they're taking to some landfill. Mm. And given that we did not even get a bid from Casella or Richter. I am just a little, and I don't know whether the increased costs is having to take it to a different place as well as the increase in fuel costs.
Yeah, all of the above. I just don't know what we can do. If pizza's gonna come back with anything different. We've got until September. So we do have time if we wanna put it back out again.
We do have time for that purpose.
Not-
However, it's going to increase that much. The budget doesn't have that same flexibility, so, I mean, if we could budget it at an increase, but
We put this out in February 6th. This is what, March 17th.
we must have just got the bid though, right? It probably just came within the last couple of days.
So it'll be another 6 weeks.
Thank you, 11.
We could do it, put it out for shorter time, is there a requirement on it? Do a 2-week.
Yeah, I can certainly rebid it and revisit it 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to carry for a number. I mean, I gotta present my budget to Julie on the 19th. And so,
And they don't meet 2 weeks from now. So have to be 3 weeks from now.
I mean, that's gonna be a moving target in my budget.
And to be honest, just like we talked about the fuel bills, it's a moving target and we don't know if we, even right now, if we wait 3 weeks, if it's gonna come in higher.
Right.
You know, this is just you know, as the word is used a lot, it's unprecedented. We hear that a lot in the news. So, I'm very torn on what we should do. I'm someone who tends to make decisions and feel really, feel like I made the right decision, and I am very
Right.
torn on this one.
So there's only one bid. And there's no opportunity for negotiation. There's only one bid, or is it? I just feel like we could negotiate and get better.
But what is our negotiating leverage? I mean, that's why I'm so torn on this, because
Well, because we'd like to use a local company and not go back out and. We're looking for something closer to what we're paying now. We're halfway in between.
The only thing I can suggest is just rebidding it.
And get nothing. And where are we?
right,
With a big problem.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Because I hear what you're saying, but that's not really leverage because we have one bid and they can, it's not like we can say, oh, we have this lower bid. But it is, we'd like to use you local.
Right, they cancel each other, they
Yeah.
cancel each other out. And I very much respect the,
And I got an idea. Let's go with them first.
can I just say?
Yeah.
I very much respect the desire to go with a local company, and that was the basis on which this decision was made to go with Pete's earlier. For me, that the localness of it, if they're not providing the same quality, I can't support that principle of going with a local company.
But we didn't get it from the not local companies.
Right,
They
we don't
And
didn't
if we
know
put
bid.
it out to rebid, we might.
I'm gonna suggest we take bid 1
For the 1 year.
for the 1 year. So that we have that and then.
And it was
Try
just
again.
a clarifying question. I know that the other commissioners might not support this, that's perfectly fine, but I'm just asking. Um, if we did put it out to rebid, is there a chance that Casella might bid on it?
Mhm.
Then
3,700 is what we currently pay. $29,400 increase over for a year.
29,000.
29,000.
6150 is the bid, right?
Yeah.
3,700 is what we currently pay.
Thank you for checking that. I knew it was 3,000 something.
Yeah. That's why I looked through these, it's like, I don't.
I should remember it because I code the darn things monthly and it just,
Yeah, but I signed them.
I deal with so
monthly,
so many
I signed them
invoices, that's
monthly,
just
and
like,
I'm
I don't dare, I just knew it was at 3,000 something. So,
Thing is, then even if they did come in.
I understand, and that's what that's what I'm saying, I don't know, I would. Of course, you only need two votes, I don't know whether Commissioner Hedberg would or not, but, that's why I would support the rebidding, because we might get, a more reliable product, more
Well, we
consistent.
don't know how reliable they are.
well, based on past experience, they were more reliable.
I mean, I
They
think,
were a much bigger outfit that has multiple trucks, so if one breaks down, you know, somebody was here to pick it up. And so, you know, if we're looking at it from a reliability standpoint, they were more reliable.
And why is your sense that we would get a bid when we didn't get it with our first solicitation?
My gut is, you know, the reason they were told why they didn't get the bid last time, because you know, you were looking for a local company, and which gave them, that local company, advantage over anybody that was competing. And they may be thinking, well, if that hasn't changed, what's the point of putting in a bid? But if, you know, it takes 2 out of 3 to push this forward. So if I, you know, I would communicate to them that put a bid in anyhow, because right now, you know, with today's, well, I didn't want to say that, but anyway,
Well, and
I'm just thinking with today's volatility, you know.
the unfairness of it is that they already know what the bid is. It's part of our bid opening.
which if anything, that would cause them to bid lower, if, I mean, they would. I just, whatever the other two commissioners decide, I would support rebidding. And I felt at the time was the commissioner that happened to be here in the afternoon, that the woman from Casella's, came by. And, they have historically been, a very reliable company. And I felt at the time that the reason to tell them outright, and I'm just saying what my feelings are about it. I felt at the time, that to tell them that we wanted to go local was decisive in terms of what they might choose to do in the future. And so now we've seen, in my opinion, that going local hasn't worked as well as the traditional product did. That's all. And the only other thing that I would add, even though I respect, and I just want to be able to agree to disagree, that's all. Shoot, hang on. We are dealing with taxpayer money. And they do, Casella serves all of Grafton County. They do provide jobs. And because we are dealing with taxpayer money, I think we have a responsibility to get the best product that we can. And it's so incredibly fine with me if others disagree, but that's.
Well, I would disagree, and I could go on for hours.
I'm sure you
about it.
can.
All we have to do is look to the state legislature where our state senator brought in a bill that was targeting the work of this particular company that you're speaking about, and the lack of support that they have from North Country communities.
I understand.
And I think that says it all right there, that
That's your district and I.
and so the damage that they've done to our environment, to our community, to on and on and on, and to the point where they are not welcome to continue or expand their dump in Bethlehem. And they are not getting through their environmental attack on Forest Lake in Dalton either, based on all of the North Country communities' lack of support for this particular company and the way that they do business. And I could go on and on, but then they'll probably sue me too, like they do anybody else that speaks out against them. So I really don't have the time or energy to deal with them. I've already had to do that when I was a representative in the legislature, where I brought my own bills on moratoriums against this. So I could not, in any kind of quick conscience, vote for this particular company for anything. But as I said, our state senator, this is not a partisan thing. It is definitely something that is going forward to protect our water, our Amnesic River, our communities, our Forest Lake, our all of the things that are important to North Country people and their environment. And so there is a huge lack of support. So when you talk about taxpayer money, we're spending a lot of money fighting them off, trying to clean up our rivers from, our DES, working with them. I mean, but there's a balance there. It is not just one thing. So I just couldn't, I would recommend we take the 1 year and we look for that perhaps some other businesses will develop as Casella is in the region. There'll be others that come in and do work. I mean, Bethlehem is creating their own transfer station. We'll be taking everything to the Androscoggin Center themselves. And so I'm sure that their local jobs will be moving to other areas where they are welcome to do business.
And I would say, I think I want to, because the county has different state senators that we're talking about Senate vote for.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure that this is not a partisan decision
Sure.
when we're talking about the environment of the North Country. And I also will agree with Commissioner McLeod that having opened a bid, it's a little bit unfair because they would know what they were up against. I think because of the concerns in the North Country and our environmental concerns, which I was going to say short run, but it may even be in the long run, but it may even be in the short run, our environmental costs. Despite this is going to be a huge hit to our budget, I think our environmental costs may be higher. So I would agree with Commissioner McLeod that we should accept the 1 year deal. I don't want to do a 3 year and then revisit it despite this huge increase.
Do we just, can I just ask, is our current agreement a 3-year agreement that's expiring?
It is.
And so it's got a 66% increase in it. This has the offer to do a 3-year with only a max of 5% increase in it. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if, but if it's ever gonna go
Go
down.
down, like, I guess that was,
Right.
yeah, and it's up to 5% and it's right and not
Five
just
maximum.
5 max.
And that may have been their mistake in doing a bid last time. That was probably a good deal for us compared to.
So with that point, I would say we might want to consider a 3 year deal, knowing that we have a maximum amount of increase.
Such a bid.
That would be my motion, is to accept the 3 year bid for $6,150 per month for the first year, and no more than a 5% increase for year 2 and then year 3.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no.
For the sake of keeping you on track, we can talk about these other contract renewals when I come back up to do the
Yeah,
courthouse stuff. That way you can,
what the situation is that I need to leave at 11:30 and I hate to miss the courthouse.
okay.
So I have a hard stop in 35 minutes if we can make sure we can do that.
So what's the pleasure? Do we want to move to what has reported?
That would be terrific.
It's just a summary and then
There's some interest. Several stuff together.
Oh, my.
Okay.
okay, so, LaValley Brensinger Architects, just gave us this updated, report last Friday. I've sent it on to all the department heads that are involved with this project for them to review the new layout of the facility affecting their departments. See if it captured all of their input and their reductions. Okay, so we're waiting feedback from them. Told them they would like to have that feedback by Thursday, and it'd be nice to be able to respond back to LaValley. Right now, they're kind of on hold. They want to see if these latest changes, if they're going to change anymore or not. And what they're going to do is once everything is settled, they're going to go for a new cost estimate. Okay. They didn't want to have to do the cost estimate 2 or 3 times. Okay. So, I've attached an email from Doug Shiloh behind this summary sheet. Basically, he's telling us that, they've incorporated everything that was sent to them. And basically, as far as reductions, it really amounted to about 250 gross square feet in reduction. In doing, really what kind of played into this was, as you know, Sheriff Myers was not supportive of the current design, with the judicial branch being on the second floor, since the lion's share of people coming to the courthouse are there for the courts. And she was very adamant that she could do a much better job keeping that building secure if the judicial branch was on the first floor and then moving the county offices upstairs. So that really drove much of the redesign right there, okay? And so in doing so, in order to keep paths, all the different paths as far as staff, customers, and inmates separate, it drove that vehicle sally port back under the building again, which is gonna have a domino effect, because now it's gonna increase site costs, even though our goal was to reduce costs by doing these reductions. How much, I don't know, but don't know. Anyway, so,
How do you get out of there?
Back out.
yeah, yeah.
The other thing is on the email, they sent a picture because and I'm just gonna jump in here,
Oh,
because I think
and then
someone
make
should
a
see
copy
it,
of
so
it,
I'm
yes.
gonna pass
you.
this around. They took off the decorative, well, kind of decorative, but the stylistic.
Right.
Pass this.
So the second point that I was gonna make is exactly what she's talking about.
I just
forgot
wanted to pass
print
it
up.
around as
I'm
you get to it.
Thankful that you brought that up. Thank you. Anyway, they were saying that in an email, I don't know, a few months ago, when we were looking at reductions, they said, quite honestly, how set are the commissioners on their design? They said, quite honestly, that could amount to several $100,000 in reductions if you remove those front peaks and you went to like what they call a cornice, which is almost like a crown molding around the edge of the building, kind of give it that enhanced look. And so I said, I don't know. And I said, why don't you give us a rendition, an artist rendition of what the building would look like, and give us a cost estimate, because that way they have something to base their decision on. So we've got the picture of what it looks like. We'll know what the cost reduction would be once all this other stuff, it'll be included in that. really the reductions that I saw came from the county attorney's office, the sheriff's department, and probation and parole. So that kind of really encompasses the 250 square feet. And then what you don't see is the parking lot was reduced significantly.
Yeah.
Basically, that west parking lot, which was the overflow, is pretty much gone. And with the reductions, you're looking at, we'll have about 9 more parking spots in the new facility than we do in the existing. So I give you some sort of idea that it's not drastically reduced, it's.
Yeah.
But it's significant enough where I think the dollar amount will definitely, help as far as moving the price down. So I guess what I would be curious is to hear your feedback, particularly about the removal of the peak roofs and maybe exploring the option of going with that cornice or crown molding look on the front of the building.
I think it looks funny. I just would worry about a flat roof in the front end. How will that?
Well, much of the building's flat roof anyhow, other than those small areas where the peaks form, you know?
Yeah.
What would be your concern about the flat roof?
Just, water drainage, that sort of thing right there in the front of the building, and there's no.
So what happens typically on these flat roof buildings, because we have a number of them, is they have, they basically slope, the gradual slope to drains all over the roof. All that water gets collected, goes down through a series of pipes, and then goes out to catch basins.
And then the flat, what it looked like on there was there's a flat roof, 1 floor lower than the roof, am I not seeing?
You
I
want-
mean, at the entranceway.
Yeah.
That it's a little hard to tell, but it does look like perhaps that.
The entranceway is one floor.
Right, and there would be some sort of, what's the same way up on at the Department of Corrections right now, the main entrance, how you have that lower section when you first walk in. It's actually outside where they have the signs and all that. That has drainage built in that's, I believe, goes down through one of the columns or whatever. So anyway, I'm not worried about the drainage at all.
Could you replace roofs like that?
The rubber membrane roofs are good for probably about 30 years. And then if you go with what they have another product that we have on the Department of Corrections. It's not a rubber membrane roof. They call it EDPM. But this one here, the one over there is more of it's almost like it's a vinyl product that I think will last a bit longer. And you can get it in various colors. So it's like the one on the POC is kind of a whitish tan color. So you're not absorbing all the heat from the sun in the summer and heating the inside, whereas like the courthouse roof is that black rubber
Yeah.
membrane. And the black rubber membrane is more susceptible to, like, if you have any HVAC stuff up on the roof and you have like leaks. Remember we had an issue where it ruined the roof? I don't think the vinyl would react in the same way, but typically the vinyl is more expensive though.
Questions?
I don't, thank you.
I don't have questions, just a couple of comments. I think that, I worry about the Sally Port, a pull in and back out. I'd like to hear more from, Little Valley on how that works. I know they said they have other ones. I'm not sure it is worth the dollar amount, but I certainly thought the building with the peaks was more attractive for the long run and fit with our county buildings. But if it's going to really be that much money, I'm not wedded to it. And we're saving a little bit of space. And I also will say I'm concerned whether we're going to get buy-in no matter what we do. So those are mine. I'm on the building committee and we will flesh this out a lot more.
So really what I need to hear from this board is, how wedded are you to that peak roof design? Because if it's something that, no, we definitely want it, then, they need to know for cost estimating and, if you don't, and you're open to this cornice or crown molding design,
Mhm.
then, it'd be interesting to see what that,
As you said,
Savings
it'd be
would be.
several $100,000.
that's what they said in a previous email, yes. They
Yeah.
said this,
I'm completely open to changing the interior design.
And I don't feel like I really spent enough time looking at it or the other piece of it, but I certainly don't want to be known for building something that in 50 years, people say, my God, that was the ugliest building.
Well,
Why did
that-
you do that? Which is kind of what we all say about the current one, like, oh my God, who designed that thing?
well, I think that crown molding feature actually distinguishes it.
Does it?
Yeah,
It's not like the existing one. The other one is just flat ends.
Oh.
There's nothing there. It
Yeah.
just has got this metal molding that wraps down around the edge and that's that. And then, of course, it has all the
Yeah,
weird
it looks
geometric
like
shapes.
These buildings with all the orangey green panels on the sides, and I'm like, oh my God, what are we thinking?
Well, down the street from me, the Plymouth State built one of the ugliest buildings I've seen, and it's in my neighborhood. So I am, I guess the way this picture's drawn, I'm just having a hard time seeing I know what a crown molding is, but how it actually looks. I don't know if there's a way to see it in more detail. And I can set forward the
Yeah, thank
picture
you.
to everyone, and then, since we know that Commissioner Piper needs to leave, maybe people could get their responses back to Julie. We can't do it amongst ourselves
Yeah.
due to the 91A, but I can send this to everyone so they can see the pictures.
Well, the other thing I can ask for is, okay, that's just an artist rendition of it. Could you give us a couple of pictures of other buildings that perhaps you built, real buildings that actually have that detail? Send it so you can look at that.
Yeah, then why didn't they come up with that in the first place? It looks good here on the campus.
Well, they gave us some options, and I think there was a flat roofed one, and we picked the other.
I think
'Cause
I
it was-
kind of drove that as far as I envisioned either something like that, or I've seen some that actually they'll have like a false roof that kind of slopes back a little bit. You've seen it probably like in shopping malls, some of the stores that instead of just having a ugly flat roof, it looks like it has a slope roof, but it's doesn't go up real high. It just kind of builds up, gives it a fancier facade, and so that's probably why.
And I think as the building committee, we like the look of with that have some architectural. I know this is architectural design, but a little more overt.
It looks like they've done what we asked them to.
Yeah.
So you guys are. And the court system, did we hear from them about? I don't know if there was anything significant.
They weren't significantly opposed to going down to the first floor. They just didn't want to concede any space. They said what they had given us was,
It's pretty much the same what they have today.
yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing we haven't accomplished today were these contract renewals. I mean, like an opportunity while we're still here to be able to do that. I mean, they go through them real fast real now, or I can come back.
Well, let me just think about this a minute. Is there anything that we need to vote on, other than that we need to vote on? And yeah, thank, hang on for that. We don't need to actually vote on any of this, right?
No, just wanted to,
Yeah.
it seems like there's some sort of, my sense is that, okay, yeah, if it's really significant, sounds like a couple of you might be, yeah, okay. And then it sounds like Commissioner McLeod, you really like that peak one, and you'd like to say.
Well,
well, if-
I actually really like yeah.
So,
That's why I want to know what the crown molding looks like.
yeah,
Because on this artist rendering,
Yeah.
it does not look attractive.
yeah. So I mean, you only had half the information to begin with. You don't know what the cost savings. is.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
So, we'll get you the pictures and we'll still have them run the numbers and just see. Cause I mean, I would want that myself if I were in your shoes. So,
But is there anything else in the rest of our,
Commissioner Piper told us in the presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read through all the other stuff.
and these need voted on, these contract renewals?
yeah, I mean, I can come up and if afterwards and if you don't mind,
Yeah.
what's that?
That's
So
okay,
that-
because,
that's what
no, because I saw I read thoroughly,
The request and the justifications?
so I'm fine with whatever decisions are made on those. I mainly just wanted to be sure that I was updated on the courthouse. And then after I listen to this presentation.
Good.
Sounds good.
Then let's do that, we'll come back.
Not a problem.
Great, thank you very much.
Yep.
I'll send you the facts and article, yeah. I'm sure it will say that they'll know. Is that an NT?
What? They tabled a bunch of tables.
Yeah.
Oh, this just happened.
Yeah.
Sorry for the delay.
Oh, it's fine.
Thank you. It was. Showing that. I do want that is.
Yeah.
It was in. I don't know, but I said it's the way I think it may be. And also, thank you, Pat.
Hi.
Good
Hi,
morning.
good morning. Thank you for allowing me.
Yeah, can we,
Mike,
you want to
can
say
you-
quickly, we'll introduce ourselves,
Yes.
Mark McLeod, I'm this District 2 Commissioner.
Wendy Piper, District 1.
I'm Katie Wood, Hedberg, District 3.
And I'm Rancy Chumbes. I'm the director for Woodsville Ambulance.
And you
And-
have some company with you.
Yeah, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Justin Henson.
Haley, Just Governance. Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to just do a little speech on the funds and probably start a little bit with a little bit about myself. I've been a resident of North Haverhill for the past 15 and a half years. I have been an RN for about 11 years. I went to Plymouth State, graduated from there in 2015. Worked for the City of Lebanon Fire Department for 3 years. And then I also worked as the ER nurse manager at Thermo Hitchcock. So then I decided to come home and work here at Woodsville Ambulance. So I've been doing that for the last 2.5 years. I wanted to help and serve my community. A little bit about Woodsville Ambulance. We cover about 348 square miles with a population of 12,000 people. In the Grafton County, we cover the towns of Bath, Benton, Monroe, Lenda, and Haverhill. Woodsville Ambulance continues to respond to emergencies with call categories directly associated with opioid misuse and overdose. Behavioral health related calls increased from 28 to 32 from the year of 2024 to 2025, as well as calls with that involve alcohol, substance abuse, or substance abuse. Patients often present with opioid-induced respiratory depression, altered mental status, and multi-factor complications that require advanced respiratory support. These rising incident volumes continue to tax EMS resources when we have multiple calls at once, just like what we did a few minutes ago, which then causes us to increase our response times, which is very important for us, and also places an additional strain on personnel. Just last month, we had a tragic death that we believe had involved the use of opioids. Just last week, we responded to the House of Corrections 3 times and twice in one day. And one of those opportunities, Narcan had been administered 3 times. 3 doses of Narcan had been given, which is great for the team. They're ready to go, the nursing team over there. Also, over the last 6 months, we've responded to the House of Corrections 10 times, as well as 35 times to the nursing home, which I printed it just for you to look at and correlate that. We are thankful for the funds that the Grafton County, they've been awarded this opioid fund. And we are asking for $68,000 to purchase 4 ventilators that will save lives directly. Woodsville Ambulance is committed to addressing this public health emergency. As a nonprofit organization, we take care of everybody, whether they have insurance or not, whether they are a resident of the Grafton County or not. Many opioid acquiring Hamilton T1 transport ventilators will strengthen the ability for Woodsville Ambulance to care for patients experiencing opioid-induced respiratory depression, respiratory failure, and cardiac arrest from an overdose. These ventilators are direct life-saving tools that will save Grafton County's residents' lives. Many opioid-related emergencies require extensive time for treatment on scene. With this specialized equipment, responders can decrease exposure time to untested unknown substances, allowing for better results for both the patient and on-scene providers. These ventilators have a CPR mode in them, which can run by itself while the rest of the providers provide CPR compressions. And other providers can administer also ACLS drugs and provide defibrillation when needed. And that is what I have. So I brought a couple of pieces of equipment that we use during those types of calls. Use a portable suction unit. We use that to clear the airway when there's vomiters. A lot of them have a lot of who knows what types of substances. So we try to suck that up to clear the airway. This is our defibrillator. We use this to shock the patient when they're in cardiac arrest, BFib or VTAC. Now, this unit is very expensive and we try not to replace it too often. This unit alone is 11 years old. And this is our ALS bag that we use. There's another blue bag that we have, but I couldn't carry it all on myself. Thank you guys, it's okay. And so here in this bag, we have our drugs that we use. One important tool that we purchased a few years ago is our video laryngoscope, which allows us to get a clear view of the airway once we are in there. Now, these are pretty costly as well. They're about $5,000. But we found a necessity in making sure that we're able to get a good airway in a timely manner. So basically, it tells me what to do. It says connected, just connected it, and now we're live. I'm recording you too. I'm recording you.
But that's down their throat, right?
Yes, yes, for the airway. It's one of the tools that we've longing to have for so many years, at least since I started here for Woodsville for the last 19, 20 years. And it's just exciting that we're able to use and have it. And last but not least, you're probably familiar with these guys. These are I don't know if you've seen them before. Keep passing them around. They're leave behind Narcan. And those are kits that we can leave behind, and we do when we have opioid overdose calls, and a lot of them are not shy to give the help and say, yeah, I'll take a couple of those.
So no matter where the incident is, this is what you need.
Yes, yep, and it's a protocol in the state of New Hampshire that we use for everybody. Something else I just wanted to bring to your attention. That cartridge in there is 4 milligrams. Our EMS dose is 2 milligrams. So they figure that 2 milligrams wasn't enough. So a single dose is now double what it was because of
The drugs is
the drugs are more potent or they try more than the time before. So we have to use 2 of these to match what's out in the public. And we get them through the doorway from Littleton. So they help us out with that.
So do we have those around here, Joey?
No, I'm just around the campus. I'm sure the jail and the nursing home have,
The nursing home, they have
and
them.
the sheriff's department, I think. has
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, because they gave 3 doses, which is 12 milligrams last week when we went to the House of Corrections. Any questions?
Very
I'm sorry, just started. Comment, just very impressive and important work. Thank you.
So in your request, you asked for 4 ventilators. How many ambulances do you have?
Yeah.
Can
We-
you have the other equipment in there that accompanies whatever you need to do with the ventilators as well?
Yes, we have everything, the same setup that you see right now, we have it in our other 3 ambulances. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What were you gonna say?
So we have a crew of 2 people, 24/7. So you might be wondering, what do you do with the other 3 ambulances? We don't use it for the parade, for the 4th of July or for the fair. A lot of times, just like today, we're able to hire a second crew during the daytime hours. We've been trying that here and there because of the budget, right? So today we have 2 crews. So right now we're able to deploy 2 trucks right away. Fortunately, one of the members was able to go with, he's not here, with the other ambulance to the second call that we had. So there's a 3rd ambulance that we can deploy if we need to deploy it with off-duty personnel, as well as a 4th ambulance. A lot of times we have ambulances coming back from a transfer down to Portsmouth, Boston, Dartmouth, even UVM. And on the way back, sometimes they catch that second 911 call and they're able to respond from whatever they are at. Difficulty comes when we're already on 1 call and then we have to respond to a second call. For example, if we go all the way from Pike out on Moody Road, and then we call out to the other end of Vermont on Lake Groton, that's a 52, 54 minute response going fast with licensed sirens. And so but you're always trying to figure out ways how we can enhance our response and to be at the patient's bedside right away. Additionally, the Woodsville Fire District Commissioners approved the purchase of a response paramedic vehicle that we are now also able to deploy should we not have a second ambulance to respond to that call. So for example, if we have a mutual aid truck coming to help us out, we're able to at least be with the patient and wait until the ambulance gets there. We also have another monitor that we're gonna be putting in this vehicle as well.
So your level of, your staff's level of paramedic?
Paramedic,
Yeah.
yes, yes. That's one of the things that I try to enforce, but really promote for the last 2.5 years is to have a paramedic on every shift, if not 2.
Yeah.
Also advanced EMTs. Today we have an advanced EMT coming to relieve one of the crew members, so we'll have 2 ALS trucks able to respond.
You guys have always had a strong response, EMS response. Yeah.
Yes, we have the locals,
Yeah,
yes.
so, questions?
No.
I did look into other different grants, such as the FEMA grant. For the last 2 years, I've tried twice. The first time they told me that there was one, like I chose a different cell category for what I was asking for. And that was enough for it to not even make it to the table. But the second time, they said, well, the federal level is shut down right now. There's no funding available. I also looked into the Granite United Way.
Yeah.
And I see that for their short-term responsive grant, the deadline was January 23rd, 2026. So that one's shut down
So they
already.
put another one out.
Nothing that I saw on their website. And then the multi-year project grant, out of 75 grand, that also shut, the due date was on February 18th, 2026. So I'm out of luck.
So part of our, it's not that we don't support the projects that are coming, we'd like to fund them all. Part of our problem is the funding that we get. I don't know if you all know, but the opioid funds go to the state. And 15% of those go out to the 23 counties and communities, communities and counties in the state that were part of the lawsuit. And so that's what Grafton County gets, a certain percentage of that, a part of that 15% of the total money. So the state of New Hampshire actually has the big parts. Then they have given some to Granite United Way to get smaller amounts out. And then they're talking about doing an RFP that they're gonna discuss on April sixth, I think it is, where they're gonna put another RFP out. We don't know what the category is. Last time I think we did it around housing to help. Our thoughts are that we collect as many interest or proposals or whatever, and that we might apply for some of that bigger, ask for some larger amounts of money to come into the county. And so I don't know if, you know, we've had, what, $568,000 requests. It just came for amount that we have is 273,000 right now. That's what we have. So I don't know if there's an interest from the group in partly funding something or, you know, it's certainly the larger funding requests that we've had, we don't have money to do it. And I don't know if there's interest in from the commissioners and funding smaller amount or a part of a smaller amount. That might be there to save lives.
So, I personally think this is great. But we also have monies that we just started our budget process and it goes for this month and through the end of next month. And some of our current, positions and whatnot are funded through the remaining opioid abatement funds. And so my feeling is that I don't think I could give a dollar amount now because we haven't heard from the proposals that we'll hear over the next couple of weeks of what monies that the Department of Corrections, you know, we have funded several of their initiatives to try and help you guys not having to come out so much. So I don't want to say this is a hard no, but I don't think I can vote for a dollar amount now till we know how much is in our budget that we need to fund. We have been, I think one of the things we've done very well as a board is we've gotten not much money or much at all had gone out prior to
Right.
January 1 of 25. And I think we worked hard to fund many initiatives. But I think we have to wait and see because we don't know when the next amount of money is coming in. And if we promised it to one of our departments, we have to make sure that we have that. And then we'll be finding out about April 6th. So that's really the way I'm feeling is that we may not know for a few weeks, but we're not saying a hard no, but we're not, you know, I don't think we have 68,000 that we can promise today. Is my thought.
Just make some comments. We've awarded significantly more than 68,000 in the past, in the recent past. Sometimes for other monies, federal money, this is not federal money, this is opioid lawsuit, which is why it keeps, you know, going off in my head. It's very earned on the part of first responders and but we have awarded larger amounts. And it's almost been on a first come, first served basis. Which I wish had not happened. I wish that in the beginning we had set up more of a system so that we wouldn't be crunched for funds. And my comments the last time we talked about this were that we should definitely wait to see what else is coming in and how much more we could get from the state. But for me, it's kind of a notion of fairness. I don't think that there's been any first responders that we have funded through this opioid. I think it's been these other programs. Is that right?
We funded the police departments, the TrueNarc devices.
That was it though, right?
Then 4 or 5.
And fentanyl testing.
That's what, isn't that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Given how on the ground you are, and we also have the record here, I would be in favor, I'm changing with this more information and this presentation that you've made. I would be in favor of changing my um, previous decision. And I would be in favor of funding this amount, the 68,000. I would be in favor of that.
Today?
We also have, if I could just add, we also have, so we have the 273 unobligated, but we also have 42,000 something obligated for Trunark, the sheriff's department. that
Right.
They don't want,
So,
so we could also add that back into
Yes,
allotment.
That's good news.
yes. I mean, I just want to answer Commissioner. Thank you for that. Thank you. I thought something was growing interesting over there. Yes, today I would be in favor of funding this today.
would you like to make that motion?
And I just have a question, do we know how much is in the budget that we think is obligated in opioid funds?
I think it's around 65,000 is what's obligated in this year's budget.
And do we think it's about the same that's coming in for the requests of the budget? That's was my,
30 of that's social service funding, so you can
do what we want. Okay,
And then I do have the jail's budget. I just got it yesterday and I don't remember what's in it. So,
okay.
but I don't,
So,
it's not.
but it's not significant like, okay, and that was my hesitation.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion then. I'm hurrying because I have to leave. I'm going to make a motion that we provide Woodsville ambulance 68,000, exactly $68,000.
What is it?
You said that would work.
And do we get pens?
You get a free pen and a cup.
Very expensive pen. I'm just playing.
They work nice.
The actual number. the
I'm
68.
making the motion that we provide Woodsville ambulance $68,028.57. And again, that is coming out of the award for the lawsuit, the opioid lawsuit against the pharmaceuticals. So I make that motion that we award that today.
I will second that.
And all in favor? All in favor? Motion passes.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for all the information. that you
Yes.
have.
Thank you.
And thank you for all your trips to our county complex.
Yes, we could touch base about, I will get that to you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
I'm Julie, by the way. I don't think we
Okay,
met first.
Me.
We communicate.
Oh, you got
Yes.
both carried it out.
Yes, yeah, finally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and so we're gonna sign these, Commissioner Packer needs to leave at some
Yeah,
point.
thank you. But 2 signatures is adequate if you don't have time to say the check registers, I believe.
These two other ways. And usually someone has to run in the door.
Because there's a lot of them today.
Yeah.
I agree.
A lot of these, okay, well. I'm not doing a job of reading them, so. And I'm gonna take my cup, my pen. Why shouldn't I?
So Commissioner McLeod is not going to be here Monday, is that what she said?
Yeah.
So I'll be sending the commissioner's report. To you for review.
Yeah.
and I'll send it to both of you, but. Make sure you have it Monday.
Thank you. We get to be together 3 days next week.
Yes, ma'am. Never enough.
Alright. So I'll let you know if something changes and I can make the executive.
Yep, please, yeah.
Thinking of.
Yeah, whatever.
Being question. They're all the way down there for early morning meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think.
So I just wanted to share with you, so the executive committee meeting is Monday morning at 9 AM. It is not, that's not a reschedule, that's just their regular March meeting, their January just didn't happen, so. Anything that was on the January agenda that wasn't addressed will be brought forward to the March agenda that will be put together and sent out soon. I just wanted to share with you, you were sent a copy of a letter from Plymouth State University that was sent to Sheriff Myers, and it just says, on behalf of our police and society and criminal justice in action students, I wanted to express our sincere appreciation for your recent visit. It was a privilege for the class to hear firsthand from you and Captain Hamilton. Your candid discussion about the realities of law enforcement provided a unique educational bridge that textbooks simply can't replicate. Students were especially moved by your focus on professional ethics and the necessity of maintaining healthy work-life balance in such a demanding field. Furthermore, your emphasis on the value of higher education and internships gave these aspiring professionals a clearer roadmap to their own career development within New Hampshire. We are grateful for your service. Thank you for your leadership and for investing in the next generation of justice professionals. Sincerely, Dr. David Lou Berland, Chief of Police from State, retired from the State University Department of Justice.
Did we get a copy of that? I don't,
This is the one that
Okay.
that's why I'm sharing it.
Alright, thank you.
And Jim is on his way back. up,
Yes.
I believe, and that, after that, a wrap on the information I have to share with you all today.
So you're gonna draft up, update the executive committee. Yes. Report.
And I'll send it to both you and Commissioner. Send it to all three of you.
Do we have the date of the June meeting for the executive? committee?
Multiple June meetings. and
Because of all the budget and everything.
They're typically the first 2 weeks, both Mondays and Fridays, with the third being reserved for.
Mondays and Fridays for the first 2 weeks, that's what I did.
The budget meeting I am anticipating on June 23rd. The full delegation budget meeting I'm anticipating will be June 23rd,
Tuesday.
then June 22nd.
Okay, whatever that.
Okay,
Monday
no, I
is.
just, that's why I was checking.
The next Monday is June 30th, and I do not want to push the budget vote off until June 30th, so
Right, I'd like,
to make sure we take care of it, but.
and
must
we
be
don't have
fine.
the dates yet of the.
They'll set them on Monday, but I would assume they'll be the first and second, first 2 weeks, the Monday and Friday.
And I probably
Okay.
can't make the second Friday in June.
That's our typical meeting schedule, for first 2 weeks, the Mondays and Fridays. With the third Monday reserved for if needed.
Remember, close it in now.
We'll finalize those as well as talk about elected official salaries and meeting dates, because those will have to be set before the end of May. The filing period opens that first weekend.
Right, so we're on to the rest of Jim's agenda.
Yeah, the rest is just contract renewals. The first one has to do with elevators. We currently have a contract with Stanley Elevator. It's a 3-year contract that ends June 30th. I had requested another 3-year renewal, and when I got it, it came to basically 67% of an increase over a 3-year period. So when I questioned them about why such a steep increase, they said they've been undercharging the county for many years, but can't continue to do so with rising costs. So I went ahead and solicited 2 other elevator companies for proposals, Pine State Elevator and Otis Elevator. Otis did not respond to my solicitation, but Pine State did. They ended up submitting a proposal, and theirs encompassed 165% increase over what I'm paying now. So kind of substantiated what Stanley said. This 3-year contract combined is $31,000 and $31,092 for that 3-year period. That's not each year, it's just all 3 years combined, it comes to that total. And this exceeds the RSA 28.8 threshold of $10,000, so I need the commissioner's approval to go ahead and sign that contract.
And so this is a renewal, not a bid, that something we have to vote to get off.
No, I've solicited competition, and you can see that despite the 67% increase, it's still a bargain compared to Pine State.
Right.
So
You're actually selecting the proposal from Stanley Elevator.
that's what I'm asking you to do. That's right.
So I would make that motion to accept that bid despite the increase, since it's much less than the other one.
I would second that. Any questions or other information we need? Hearing any, all in favor?
I,
Motion passes.
Okay, the next one is a sprinkler contract renewal. We currently have a contract with Hampshire Fire Protection. And we've currently in a 3-year, and that expires on June 30th as well. I've been here going on 22 years, and we've used Hampshire Fire virtually that whole time. So we've got a great working relationship with them. What's nice is they always send the same guys up to do our buildings. And what's nice is these guys intimately know our buildings, where all the devices are, and, the people, the protocol, and it's just an excellent working relationship. So anyway, this new contract encompasses a 12% increase spread over a 3-year period. And the total 3-year period contract totals $10,856.40. And so I'm advocating that you would select them as well for another 3-year contract.
I would make that motion.
I'll second. Any other questions? Do you have something to add?
No, it's technically you're waiving the bidding process because we didn't solicit any other.
That's true.
So the motion,
You have to just be waive the bidding process and accept the proposal from Hampshire Fire.
Yeah.
want to amend?
I will amend my motion to that.
Okay. I will second that.
And the last one is for
Wait, we
a,
haven't voted.
oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, jumping at the the last one is the fire alarm contract. We currently have a contract with Alarmco, a local fire alarm company. Once again, we've been using them for 20+ years. There was a period where I shopped around a number of years ago and to save a few $100. And when we did get that company in here, they in turn ended up nickeling and diming us for different things. And the other thing too is that the people did not have the corporate knowledge that Alarmco has. And it ended up costing us more in the end because we had to basically escort them everywhere and show them where all the stuff is, whereas Polanco knows exactly where all of it is. So it's kind of like Hampshire Fire. We've got a great working relationship. This particular 3-year contract extension encompasses a 14% increase spread over a 3-year period. And the total for the new 3-year contracts is $20,500. And so once again, this would be waiving the bid and sticking with Alarmco for the reasons that I gave you, which I think are pretty justifiable.
Jim, the very last word should say Alarmco, right, not Hampshire Fire, that last paragraph.
Yes. Alarmco.
I will make a motion to waive the bidding process and accept the bid from Alarmco for the new 3-year contract. of 20,500.
Second that? All those in favor? The motion passes. I just say it's very sobering. I think the increases that you're seeing in the dimensions is that will be sobering. For what's ahead. Yeah. Things are not going in the right direction.
Okay, anything more from you?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Commissioners issues.
I did just want to let people know that, I was able to communicate with the Plymouth Fire Chief Pearson. I believe all of the towns, in my district who were thinking about village district, I believe they were all passed. There was some question about Dorchester, but he believes it was passed. I could not find most of the results online, but he was at most of the meetings, so. So it appears that they will continue their working group to go forward with that. And I think you sent an email, and I was also going to bring it up, that correlates that it appears that the Go North process will go forward.
Go forward, yes. The executive council has voted on 4. I think there's one more, but they
The
voted on.
behavioral health they think will be voted on the 25th.
Yeah. And I think what's important here, maybe what I was thinking in terms of our own advocacy for the projects we think need to be done. I was not, feel happy to read, I don't know if you had a chance to read it yet, but they did talk about EMS, but it was more around quality.
Yes.
And I think it might be worthwhile for us to, and I think it's strategically, how do we position ourselves and help them understand before we get this stuff that goes, apparently the RFPs are gonna be on these websites for these different projects. So I'm just wondering if we need to invite, ask Executive Counselor Hill, to bring, Donna Lee Lozo out to a real rural area, and I say that because she's really from the Nashua area. Let's see what rural really looks like and sounds like. So we invite her to a meeting and talk about our EMS report and our need in this county. I'm just wondering, we should do that before.
You know, I think that's a great idea. My other concern, I did read the article that I had read the article in In-Depth New Hampshire last evening. I had some of the same thoughts, and then I was a little, I also heard a story on NHPR this morning about it. And, they interviewed someone from the university system, and they seem to have their own plans of what they wanted to do with their own resources, which I did not think was, that it was coming to them, but I thought it was going to be a more open process, but they had other things that they were talking about, their different departments, so I'm a little concerned that some of us are gonna be frozen out.
Yeah, and I think in this case, they're talking about some of these big projects in the first year that they want to get down, we can get some of this money
Right.
out. So I don't know, that was my thought. If there's other ideas around strategy of how to get our issues and needs on the RFP board. out there. And make sure that some of this is not forgotten. I mean, like Coast County, you know, they wanna rebuild the whole nursing home up there with this money. Those are great projects, but and maybe it's Senator Roachford, that whoever it is, we think that can bring in the folks. I think of Karen because they passed it. But I know Senator Roachford was helpful on this stuff too, so I don't know, what do you guys have any thoughts on how we should approach this?
I think that you're right, that's who you should reach out to. I read some of the transcript stuff from yesterday, and then I think it was an article where Counselor Hill brought up the EMS stuff, and it's sounded a little dismissive maybe of
That's
the
right.
EMS stuff,
Yes.
the response from her, so I think it would be worth a while to do an outreach to see if we can get her here to a meeting and talk about that.
Yeah,
And I don't know who the best person is to try to get, if Counselor Hill or Senator Roachford or both of them are.
Right. I guess my concern with Senator Roachford would be, could he actually make it here? When I was speaking to Senator Prentice last week. She was at an event in Plymouth, and just how many days they are actually in session.
Yeah.
And not that they wouldn't want to come, just whether
yeah. there
what
could be a
the-
time
what they
on
can,
Tuesday.
what they can do.
Right, I know he has a lot of committees that he's on and chairs.
I can start with Counselor Hill and see.
That would be great.
Talk to her and see if she thinks what she can do.
Right, okay.
Try to, I'll reach out to her.
Oh, thank you. All
That
right,
would be great. Thank you.
okay, a good start, and then we'll see. I did feel that it was somewhat dismissive, and it was, yeah, that, you know, whatever it is, we're just looking for basic things, not even into, you can't do the quality improvements and all of those specialized things if you haven't even got
Right.
boots on the ground.
Right.
Especially when you sit and listen to pros, like the
Mhm.
presentation like we just
Yeah.
had from
Right.
literal boots on the ground.
Right.
You know, who are living the EMS piece of it on a daily basis
Right,
in very rural
yeah,
New Hampshire.
when I think how big an area.
When he talks about having to go from,
52
miles.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, and that is close to the distance if with the communities that Plymouth is now contracting with, since they took Warren, because they can be on the far side of Holderness.
right,
Which is why they're trying to work with Rumney, and luckily there's a good working relationship, so I've been very pleased that the towns are working together because they see the need.
and I think that's the part we'll really have to push out there, you know, this is a collaborative thing, there's so many places in this county where collaboration is going on, and
I think that's really important. That
Yeah.
is a regionalized
Mhm.
approach. It's a collaborative effort. Try to address the problem so that individual communities don't have to have that burdensome expense.
And as you listen to our presentation today, even the ones that are not looking to do a big regionalization project, they're already regionalized. You know, Plymouth already was covering several towns. Woodville covers several towns. Littleton does. Lincoln, Woodstock,
yeah,
you know, they all cover more than the names in their, in their,
and
department.
it's very challenging, because you have your community that says, we only want to support our piece of it, our costs. And it's hard to determine what those, you know, those other communities are paying, but it's really hard, as Chief Pierce was saying, it's really hard to make sure all of those costs are included in there and what falls on which community, so. And maybe you could share a report with Council Hill, could share that with Don Lee.
I will reach out and see what I can do.
That's great.
Because I thought there's a lot of good information in there as a context. All right, any other commissioner issues? I think we have one member of the public online. Mr. Mayo, do you have anything you want to add for the public comment section? See your hand raised and.
All right. Yeah, long meeting.
Yes,
Just from my end of it, and I don't know about anybody else. I saw Terry Spahn on there, very gobbled at certain sections of the meeting. Couldn't understand what, we go back to that, we've had that before. Very gobbled and makes for a very uncomfortable reception for the public, So I would just request that you enunciate your words. Sorry to sound like a real teacher here, but enunciate your words and make it clear so we can understand what's going on. Is Dead River the place you're going for the propane?
no. Or diesel, off-road diesel.
Oh, off-road diesel. So Dead River is right up the road from Grafton County, isn't it?
We believe so. Yep.
So I would think that would be a smart move because travel expenses, they're right there. If you were to get Irving, you don't know where Irving is coming from. They'd probably charge you more just to deliver it. All right, I'll be looking forward to the minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good afternoon. All right. Seeing no other business,
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that, and all in favor? Aye. And motion passes. All right.